Hello everybody, this is Deb Kaminsky and I will be talking about mental health. It's becoming popular, so I wrote down some stuff and that is what I'll be using today. This episode is going to be short. But it's about the stigma on mental health or mental illness. So the stigma on mental illness. Mental illness has probably been around since mankind has been here. Yet there is always a stigma on them. I personally don't see the logic in this other than the fact that people are afraid of what they don't know, which in itself is sad. When I meet people and finally trust them enough to tell them about my mental illnesses, I tell them to Google them because sometimes it's hard to explain. Plus, I figure they get some education on them as well. Mental illnesses are not something we choose to have. We are born with it. I had looked up the word stigma so I could understand the word and found out it means disgrace among other things. How are mental illness is a disgrace? Because society tells you? Because that's how you were raised? Or because you watch too many horror films and think that everyone that has a mental illness is crazy? Or how about the fact that you just like judging people even though it's not your job? And you can't mind your own business and need to downgrade others in your life to be happy. Whatever the reason, you need to just stop and educate yourself and try and understand. Times are changing and talk about mental illness is becoming popular. Heck, your friends could have a mental illness or two and just have never told you about it. Would you disgrace them if you found out? Probably not. So why do it to others? I find it funny that some people hang out with friends and are cool with each other until mental illness comes into play. And then, bam! No longer friends, and the one that has a mental illness is automatically disgraced and talked about, which in turn makes them feel horrible and ashamed instead of embracing it and learning how to cope properly and getting the help that they need because they think that everyone will disgrace them or not understand. I have personally felt like this, and let me tell you something. It sucks. If you have no support or understanding from people, you're not going to get the help like therapy or medication, and for some, that will sadly lead to suicide. Stigma in itself is a disgrace. I think really it should be cut out of every language known to mankind and forgotten about. We don't need stigma. We need the world to be educated so that they can help us better ourselves so that suicide is cut down and many of us feel more comfortable going to therapy and getting medication. We're not asking for sympathy, just understanding and support. Suicide is usually what happens when society has shunned us and made us feel shame and afraid to get the help we need. It's not easy admitting that you have a mental illness. It's not like a normal conversation starter or something that people want to share. So my advice would be not to be the problem, but to help the problem disappear. If you still want to put a stigma on it, then keep to yourself so others can help to cure the problem. Like the old saying goes, if you have nothing nice to say, then say nothing at all. If you have nothing, if you still can't keep to yourself, then it shows the kind of person you are, not the people with the mental illnesses, and you're just mean and rude and a whole bunch of nasty words I can't say because kids look at this and I want it to be clean. I just don't know how you could sleep at night when you may have been a jerk to someone and that was the last straw that broke the camel's back and they killed themselves. If you're the opposite of putting stigmas on mental health or mental illnesses, thank you. The world needs more of you in it. For the ones that suffer with mental illness, remember it's not your fault. Try not to let stigmas define who you are, because in all honesty, it doesn't. Be you, and the right people will come into your life. Don't be afraid to get the help you need. If therapy scares you, feel free to bring a close friend or relative who is understanding for a few sessions just until you are okay with doing it on your own. I know it's hard, but it will be beneficial to you in all aspects of life from now until the end. I know how stigmas are because I had been working a job and my bipolar depression had come into play. And I remember that I had seen the what do you want to call it? Box cutters. I was the only one on shift. And I finished the shift, but I called my manager, told her that I couldn't work until I became emotionally stable. I told her what happened the night before, and I got emergency help, and the therapist I've been seeing since then. So it's been about 6 years. Come to find out, the person that was supposed to be a co-worker somehow found out about the message that I left for her. And you know, your manager should not, go and tell people or other people. That's, nobody else's business. It's between you, your manager, and the company, not any of the coworkers or any of their family. But in this case, they found out about it. My coworker's son found out about it. And every time he seen me, he'd call me crazy. Now that's the worst feeling in the world, and that did affect me. And this all goes into stigma. Like I said, stigma is a disgrace in itself. We put labels on people, whether it's mental illness, disabilities, when you're young and everything. You want, teenagers put labels on each other. For example, a boy you went on a date with, okay, goes around the locker room or the school and says, hey, I slept with so-and-so. Then it gets around the school, and then the girls, it's mostly girls that do this, and they start rumors, and they call you names like slut, whore, blah, 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 So, stigmas aren't just for mental health, but I find it a lot in mental health, actually, for mental illnesses. And, it's really sad how many people don't know about what they're talking about. They only know a little bit, not, as much as they should. And that's pretty sad. Especially if it's a family member or the entire family, because then they look at, the illness, not you. Even if they've known you all your life, not just a family member that you just met, and they find out about it, because they don't know about it, it scares them. So they will automatically put a stigma on it, a label, They don't really want to be around you and everything else. And that's sad because it's family, And it's pretty hurtful if you've had friends that you've told and then, they just don't want to hang out with you anymore. We who suffer from mental illness need support circles to help us understand and learn, along with your loved ones that need to learn. But we're the ones that live with it. Plus, with the people in our lives, whether it's a best friend, a friend, family member, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, it, by them understanding what it is and learning how to help, that's the best thing you can do, because we need to learn together. They need to understand how we work. And you can read books, watch videos, research it, but not everybody is, textbook, whatever mental illness they have. Everybody's different. So, you gotta sit down, ask the person how they're different, maybe even ask them how they need help, but don't, disgrace them. Don't make them feel little, or like they're the dirt on your shoes and you step on them every time. They need to be confident enough to get the help they need. And if it comes to medication, they're not afraid to take it because they need it. I don't really know what to say.